This is where we left off from the previous book, Dragon Tales.
Good night, sweet dreams. So the end of our story is near. You see the cave is still there, but no one is living there. The entire city disappeared into the night. Not a scratch of evidence appears that the huge city even existed. The dragons and man became the universe. When you look at the stars at night, you see them twinkling and waving to you. They are saying, "You are stardust. You are eternal. You are kind." If you want to see this incredible world, it exists inside of you. You have the key to open the door inside of you. The door has always been there. If each one of you did this, peace will be on earth. The dragons are still alive. They exist in your heart. Remember, you are never alone. At times it may seem like it, but in reality, you are never alone. Sweet dreams, my friend. May you find your true home.
Now you see them. Now you don't. Now you see them. Now you don't. Life is a disappearing act. We come into this world and we leave this world. It seems like a blinking of an eye. For all you kids out there, learn to be grateful. You are alive. The dragons and man learned over time to be in harmony with the universe and the quantum field. They lived a life of going from darkness to light. They truly embraced the evolution revolution. What they accomplished was nothing so of a miracle. Granted, it took time, thousands of years. Yet it takes many civilizations millions of years to reach their level of attainment. People still talk about the lost city of Shambhala today. Many people are still looking for it today. Can you imagine that the entire city became one with the universe? That is a major accomplishment. This has been done many times before. This is the journey in life. The goal is for civilization to journey from darkness to light. It's a journey from me to we. Kids, I even wrote a book about that. Did you know that the entire universe is aware? The people and dragons became one with the universe. They became the sun, moon, and stars. Yet they were walking around in bodies and carrying out their daily life. At one point, they decided to embark on another incredible journey. We will discuss that in the next chapter. Many civilizations have come and gone in this manner. The Mayans, the Hawaiians, people on Easter Island, people living on the Azores. There have been numerous civilizations that have vanished without a trace. Now you see them, now you don't. Shambhala morphed into an ideal society. Imagine the changes Saran and the dragons saw on their incredible journey. They were raised to be angry and to fight each other and man. They were raised to hoard gold. Quite frankly, they had no ethics and moral values whatsoever. They had the same internal journey that man had. had the same old tapes that we still are playing today. Meditation taught them to be in harmony with the universe. Granted, this took thousands of years, but the dragons lived for a very long time. So by the time the kids came around and discovered their cave, they were enlightened. The rest is history. The world still talks about this lost city and how incredible it was. Fast forward to today. We are just like those kids. Millions of people are waking up from their slumbers. Kids, you know that you are the universe. Why do I say that? Because you came from it. A part of you knows you are infinite and eternal. A part of you knows that your true nature is kindness, love, and compassion. Somewhere, deep down inside of you, you know this to be true. I bet at times you think, I'm a stranger in a strange land. I bet you feel, how I ended up on this chaotic planet. They are still fighting and going to war. Look at all the problems we still have in this world today. Your generation will help transform this world. This will take time, but each generation takes one step on the ladder to our destination. You see, the same goal Tehran and the dragons had is the same goal humanity had. When I was young, I was told that humanity was going to blow itself up. How's that for being a kid? We would have warning drills where if a nuclear bomb went off, you had to go under your desk. I'm not sure if that would have helped or not. The Mayans had a prophecy that if man lived past 2012, a major transformation would occur. Slowly over time, mankind will overcome all the problems that exist on Earth today. Everyone would realize that they are a piece of the puzzle, much like the citizens did on Shambhala. In essence, people learn how to be kind with one another. No more bullying, no more treating other races and religions with total disrespect. Mankind is learning how to be mature. Kids, these are exciting times for you. It is quite a roller coaster ride. It is definitely an incredible journey. At times, it may seem like a horror movie. At times, it seems like a great movie. At times, you may not understand the plot. Yet if you turn around in the movie theater, you will see the light flowing from the projector and displaying images on the screen. This light is your true essence. This light is pure love, compassion, and kindness. In essence, this is your true nature. Just ask any scientist today. So remember, you are not alone. It may seem like it. You hold the keys to discover your true nature. Remember, only you can open the door within. Where did they go? Where did they go? That is a good question. We come into this world and we leave this world. This world is like a hotel. We come and we stay overnight and then we check out. It seems like our lives are long and it's only a flicker in time. Imagine the same place they went is the same place we all go. The difference is that they were one with the quantum field while alive. They became the sun, moon, stars. They went from me to we. Human presently is nowhere even close to this. We are still fighting today. Death is a total enigma. We don't even want to talk about it. Yet when a person dies, we mourn and go into so much pain and suffering. Did you know that your ancestors are alive today? They exist inside of you. Their true essence lies inside of you. Some cultures around the world, death is a celebration. They do not mourn for the dead. They realize that their ashes are scattered throughout the universe. They have gone back home. Yet we call them uncivilized. Personally, I think that the Western mind really needs to learn how to be mature. It's like total chaos out there. It seems like we are spinning out of control. The U.S. used to be a leader in the world. At times, we are a laughingstock to this world. Can you imagine the dragons and human reached a level in awareness where they became one? That is quite the state of consciousness. Have you seen the birds flying in the sky? They fly in complete unison. It's like they have a united state of awareness. Each one of them are connected. There is no leader, yet all movements are coordinated by all. It's like a band playing music without the conductor. That, to me, my friend, is a miracle. The dragon world had this type of awareness while alive. They reached a point where they decided to evolve to a greater state in the journey of life. You see, the journey never ends. The journey will go on for eternity. Personally, I think that in the West, we can't even imagine a pure state like that. Yet even in that state of oneness, it's only a drop in the bucket. I hope this will give you a small glimpse of where we are heading. Millions of people are waking up. I read an article yesterday where a psychologist describes that her entire practice was based upon Newtonian principles. We only treat people using drugs. We think that is the only way. We think a drug, which is matter, can affect the body. In the quantum side, everything is energy. This is like exciting times where energetic medicine is exploding on the scene. Energetic medicine is using the quantum fields of intelligence to heal. This is a new and exciting way of life. Many new modalities are being discovered. This female realized that maybe, just maybe, a new dawning of healing is taking place. She has seen thousands of people are being healed by these modalities. Imagine your subconsciousness is the greatest supercomputer. You are tied to a state of infinite knowledge and wisdom. All of us are genius, yet currently we aren't tapping into it. Our knowledge is extremely limited. Anyone who thinks outside the box is considered a wacko. Even when Galileo said the earth revolves around the sun, he was condemned to house arrest. He had the proof, yet the Pope said he was a fool. Fortunately, during this age, the internet is here. We're all together, tied together through it. There's a reason why it's called the World Wide Web. It is. Going back to the psychologist, this appeared in a major magazine. She realized that a new dawning is occurring. The common person has the capability to have the wisdom of the universe. In the quantum field, we are one. We think we are separate. Due to this separation, we think it's us versus them. No wonder there is so much conflict around the world today. We are living our lives in a Newtonian model. The dragon world learned to live in a state of oneness. Granted, this took time, but they evolved to that state. This is where we are headed. Ponder this over. Learn to think outside of your box. You can discover the precious pearl lies inside of you. They all came back. Kids, did you know that they all came back? Every single one of them, including the dragons. Time goes by fast, or time goes slow. It's all a matter of perspective. It seems just like yesterday that Shambhala existed. The dragons and the humans were one. They transcended to a state of being one with the universe. They became one with the quantum field. They were the sun, moon, and stars. This is our destiny. Yet for the love of mankind, millions of them came back and are here today. You are probably one of them. To be honest, at times, it's quite scary being on Earth. It seems we have to completely rediscover ourselves again. Why do we come back? No, that's a good question. Humanity, for thousands of years, has dreamed for peace on Earth. I would say 99% of the people want this. It's built into our DNA. Imagine millions of souls volunteering to come back at a certain point in time to jumpstart humanity into this direction. Imagine that the Earth is not the only place that this has happened. For eons, this incredible journey has existed. Just think that every one of us has been around for eternity. Your soul has no beginning and will never die. If we are one, which we are, then we want to help evolve our fellow man. Just think, behind the breath of every person on earth, power of love is keeping you alive. That same power is keeping the universe alive. So you have come back. When we were young, we remembered who we were. Yet the older we get, day by day, we forget our true nature. One day, we woke up and only a very faint memory existed. Soon, even that memory faded away. You see, by this time, we are truly engrossed into this world. For thousands of years, mankind has been fighting with each other. Trillions of dollars are spent on war. Quite frankly, this is a waste of money. War has never truly solved any problems. So we all come back. Even those who think this message is bogus came back. You see, this is the greatest time to be alive. We are going from darkness to light. This world is transforming right between our eyes. Yeah, it seems that chaos is all around, because this life is a journey. It's not a walk in the park. Yet humanity is discovering their true nature step by step along the way. The light we bring dispels darkness. How do I know that is true? We'll walk into a dark room and flip on the switch. Presto, in less than a second, the room is filled with light. In the same manner, the more humanity wakes up from their slumber, the more light appears on this planet. I find it very fascinating that humanity can discover their true nature and change the world. For me, it's very simple. When humanity becomes kind, the world will change for the better. Kindness is a divine spark from the quantum field. The more humanity discovers their true nature, the more divine memories will float to the surface of the conscious mind. We would truly sense and experience being one. Wouldn't that experience truly transform humanity? We are going from me to we. Just like the geese honking in the sky, they fly as one. So the sacrifices we make is for the benefit of all. I find this video game of life is an incredible journey. Imagine each one of us truly knows deep down inside our true nature. We hope and pray that when we die, we go to heaven. And by the way, everything goes back to the source. Personally, I think hell is a state of mind. It's not a place or destination. We create our own state of hell. It truly is a state of mind. Mind you, it's not a great place to be. Millions of people all around the world are tormented by their own minds. We are here to help others on this journey in life. A smile is worth more than 1,000 words. A smile can light up the world. A true smile comes from the quantum field. It sends ripples throughout the universe. The more we become aware, we are slowly on a journey from being matter to being an infinite energy frequency. This frequency is our true nature. It is infinite kindness, joy, love, and compassion. All separateness slowly fades away. This is the new dawning. Each day the journey in life will get easier. Granted, we have a long way to go, yet the sun is on the horizon. Mankind will finally wake up from its slumber. Many people experience nightmares during their sleep while others have peaceful dreams. The light will shine over this land again. Shambhala was a grand experiment. What would happen if Tehran and its dragons never left England? Shambhala would have never existed. Sad, but true. If Tehran wasn't so inquisitive, this event would never have happened. He was considered an outcast, even from his own parents, family, and friends. As you know, he was cast out of the cave and told never to come back again. Zoran's grandmother Josie was the only one of his family to eventually leave and flew to Tibet. That was a couple of 100 years later. Do you know that so-called misfits are needed in this world? In our society, those that think outside the box are always ridiculed and mocked. What is it that we refuse to think outside of the box? We love our comfort zones, even if they are causing the water to be like a swamp. What were the chances that the young Tibetan kids would stumble upon the cave? By then, the dragons were dragon masters, yet they had no desire to teach any humans. Remember, in England, they had dragon slayers. The dragons saw the innocence of the children and decided to teach them. Was this a master plan? Many people have a theory that a butterfly flapping its wings can create a hurricane. Maybe when Zoran left England, a series of events occurred which led to the creation of Shambhala. Over time, this led to the united awareness of the dragons of humans. This led them to become the sun, moon, and stars. Just think, one small action can ricochet across the universe. Can you imagine that millions of dragons and humans became one? I find that quite fascinating. The story gets even more glorious. The dragons and humans decided to be born again during our present time. The dragons decided to become humans. If they were born as dragons, society would have killed them all. You can't have dragons in this world. So many of them have been born from the 1950s onwards. If you're reading this, you probably came from Shambhala. Did you know that the entire universe is looking at the Earth today? What happens on Earth has major effects everywhere in the universe. Earth is like a butterfly flapping its wings. We are on a journey of going from darkness to light. In the politicians' world, they say every vote matters, while your vote counts. Do you think darkness? Do you choose darkness or light? You can't sit on the fence. Are you thrilled by all the chaos in this world? What makes you truly happy? Can you imagine a master plan for the planet Earth? Could a small band of so-called misfits from England start a grand revolution in the world today? If we all come from the quantum field, maybe, just maybe, we should think this over. You are a precious piece of the puzzle. How would the world change if we were all kind? Kindness can change all the problems in this world. If you get anything from this book, is to be kind. That is the central message. People think that kindness is weak, yet it's the hardest thing to master. It's so easy to be angry. Look at the world around us and everyone is flaming each other. Anger is the norm. We've been angry for thousands of years. War has been going on for ever so long. This is the greatest time ever to be alive. We are going from darkness to light. You're here to make this world a better place to live in.
One of the greatest events in the history of mankind is happening right before our eyes, and we're not even aware of it. This world has reached a juncture where we must decide where we want to go. We can obviously blow ourselves up, or we have few wonderful options. The Great White Brotherhood is a consortium of beings who help balance the state of affairs on different dimensions. They have existed for eternity. There are many wonderful beings who have merged themselves as a single and separate consciousness. There are both sides of the coin. They are separate entities, yet at the same time, they are a group with a common consciousness. They are here for universal justice. They don't enforce their way on anyone. But if you want their assistance, they will come in any shape, way, or form. The majority of all our great spiritual teachers, past, present, and future, are part of this consortium. They are here because they love humanity. At this critical time in the history of the planet, we need help. Our government can't solve the problems. There are millions of people on the face of this planet who are part of this master plan. Some are aware and some not. We can blow ourselves up in disharmony, or we can learn how to live in harmony. It's our choice. They will never harm us. Their aim is to protect humanity, but it is our decision. Humanity as a whole has to make that decision. Do we want chaos like we have now, or do we want a planet where happiness, cooperation, and tolerance reside? I have met many of these beings, and they are the most compassionate beings you will ever meet. A lot of them have lived lives and know our drama. They learn to transcend this world. Their joy is to assist and teach us ways to improve our lives. They're not interested in changing your religion. They just want you to be a better Christian if you are a Christian. If you're a Buddhist, be like a Buddha. Live in compassion and tolerance that the Buddha preached. We are all brothers and sisters from the Almighty Father. They have been sent here by our Father to help humanity. What would this world be like if we all lived in compassion towards each other? We would be in peace. We are living in disharmony. When man lives in disharmony, his civilization goes down the tube. We have the ability to change ourselves. Each one of us has all the help we need if we request our help. We should pray and ask for guidance in our lives. Let's stop pretending we know all the answers. We don't. Help from the entire universe is at each one's beckoning call. We just have to ask. It's time humanity wakes up. A lot of people think I'm too busy with my life. Well, when your last breath leaves your body, how busy will you be? Let's build a safe place in this world. We all have the same dream.
Little Ricky and Little Johnny. This book is mainly about the divine adventures of Little Ricky the Dragon. Both Little Ricky and Little Johnny didn't want to miss out on this grand adventure. This is a story of Little Ricky's journey in life and the family and friends that helped him along. Many of these family and friends came along for the same reason. Many of them came from the land of Shambhala. They didn't want to miss out on this golden opportunity. They wanted to witness firsthand the transformation of going from darkness to light, even if it meant they had to forget their true identity and rediscover who they truly are on this journey. Now, that takes courage. Each one of us has the courage within to rediscover our true nature.
My brother and I were born December 24th, 1952. In Pasadena, California. We had an incredible childhood. My dad and grandfather owned an aerospace company. The first house I remembered was near an orange grove. My brother and I would sneak through the fence and walk in the orange grove. There was a tree house and we could climb up on it. We were probably 3 years old. Our house was years ahead of its time. My father and grandfather were both inventors. They developed a house where you could walk in the house, clap your hands, and the lights would come on. The outlets weren't on the walls, but hidden in the carpets. We had sensors that when it rained, the windows would close. My mom would watch us in the backyard by a video camera while she was cooking dinner. This house was featured in the Los Angeles Times home selection. This is back in the early 50s. In the early 2000s, I saw a Burger King commercial where my mom was making hamburgers. The frying pan was floating in the air. The stove used induction coils. At that same time period, they developed a Jeep that could shoot at its tires and nothing would happen. This Jeep could float downstream. It was lighter and got more miles per gallon than the standard Jeep. They tried to get the United States government to buy the Jeeps, but after several years of losing bids, they saw the handwriting on the wall. If you don't have inside connections with the government, you could have a futuristic Jeep and nobody would care. During this time, they came up with a way to make houses that would cost 1/10 of the present day house. It was all modular. They could put up a complete house in a week. The trade union was strongly opposed to this. Consequently, it was never marketed. I guess those early years really had an impact on me. I subconsciously adapted to always looking towards the future and bring that technology back to the present. One of my first was multimedia. Even before multimedia was born, I had a company with a good longtime friend, John Slowski. We developed a visual database for the real estate market. You could put in a search for a house, and all house which matched the criteria of the house would come up. When you saw a house you liked, it would take you on the tour of the house. The program won awards at trade shows, but it was far too ahead of its time. We developed some trial photo database programs for the Department of Justice, but finally lost to IBM, who bidded $1 for the job. One of my first impressions when I was young was that when my brother and I was born, I said to him, "You go first and check it out." My brother remembers going down a long, bright tunnel in ecstasy and then told me to come down. I remember it was a rush and both of us laughed inside. When we were young, my brother and I had our own telepathic communication with each other. A lot of people thought we had communication problems because we didn't talk English very well. I remember our state of communication was nonverbal, but with thoughts, pictures, emotions, and experience. It was like if you wanted to know about an apple and you never seen one. Talking was one way to explain about an apple. Another way was to graphically send the experience of an apple. I remember hearing stories about tribes in the South Sea Islands who would communicate with their loved ones telepathically. Today, we use telephones. Our sense of communication is more physical. It's kind of funny that people think it is mystical when it's probably very natural. We have simply not used this communication, so we forget we ever had this ability. So now, we scope at the idea that men can communicate in ways that we don't imagine. My brother and I loved to play jokes when we were kids. I remember that one joke we played was on our bus driver coming home from kindergarten. As the bus driver drove us home, we realized that our mom wasn't home. Usually when this is the case, the driver can't release you. You have to return to kindergarten. My brother and I definitely didn't want this to happen. As soon as the bus stopped, my brother and I ran out the bus and ran to our front door. It was locked. So we ran to the back of the house and entered another door. The bus driver was amazed. He knew what happened. He started to yell, "Open the door. You have to return to kindergarten." We both made faces. Fortunately, my mom came home and resolved the situation. When my brother and I were babies, my mom put fingernail polish on one of us to tell us apart. We used this to our advantage growing up. In the 5th grade, we would switch classes for the fun of it. All the kids in the class would get a kick out of that. I remember when I was a child, my uncle took my brother and I to a Bob's Big Boy for a chocolate milkshake. The placemats were a spaceman with the words, "Take me to your leader." My brother and I were so much in joy placing these masks over our faces. In one way, we knew that we came from the stars, and it was real funny to see those masks. We know that these earth embodies were stardust and could laugh at the joke. Yet, we really take this life too seriously. We think this world is so physical, yet over 94 years ago, Einstein taught us different, yet we still continue to live and believe so staunchly in this space-time continuum. My brother and I knew we were special, and yet we knew everyone was special but didn't know about it. I remember looking at the stars when I was a child, and I knew that I came from beyond the universe. Here it was in a tiny human body, but something inside of me knew that my consciousness existed everywhere. I was the sun and the stars. I knew as human beings we had this capability to experience this, but at the time our Western culture never expressed the idea. I remember when I was probably about 10 years old, my yearning for self-discovery really began. I began to look consciously for ways to learn about myself. Wherever I heard the word India, or meditation, or yoga, it would send a chill down my back. I remember trying to get involved with church, but I had a hard time with the concepts. I felt that life was glorious and incredible. Christianity was trying to make me feel guilty for what happened 2,000 years ago. At the time, I had a strong connection with Christ, which I still do. It was my own personal and private connection. I felt that religion should be a private experience. I had my own personal experience with the Creator. At times, I would watch the church services on TV, but it really didn't have any substance. I felt it was a lot of talk and it took advantage of people. I knew at that age, if I kept my vision, that I would someday have the experience that I was looking for. I knew the doors were inside of my own being, but I wasn't conscious of the door being open. I knew I needed a direct, personal experience of my Creator. My life as a child ran on two levels. I was happy-go-lucky kid. I loved the world and played to my heart's content. The other side of my life was very personal. I wished for the stars and for my friends on the other side. I lived in this world, but I didn't altogether leave my inner world. I knew there was a purpose to life. Our culture at that time hardly expressed our desire to become one with our Creator. We were taught that when you die, you might have a chance to experience your Creator. I could never buy that. I knew as human beings we had the capability to have a first-hand, moment-to-moment connection with our Lord. It was direct and personal. As a child, I never wavered from that. At times, I would have fleeting glimpses of that experience. I remember waking up and feeling such a joy and ecstasy. I knew that in my dreams, I went to such an incredible place. I didn't have full conscious memory. I knew my friends were looking after me. I felt that in due time, I would be shown the way to consciously 24 hours a day to be in that joy.
Once upon a time, there were two twin brothers named Little Ricky and Little Johnny. Little Johnny was a genius in picking up and learning new things, while Little Ricky was what you would call on the slow side. It took him hundreds of tries to learn new things. For example, one Christmas morning, their wonderful parents presented them both with brand new bicycles. Both of them were so excited. Well, they took them outdoors. Little Johnny hopped on his and immediately started riding down the block. Well, Little Ricky didn't have the same luck. In fact, it was kind of funny to see how clumsy he was. He didn't give up. He knew deep down inside he could learn how to ride this. It took him about a month. The first time he realized that he was actually riding the bicycle, he was filled with joy. He was so grateful. I did it. I did it. I didn't give up. This incident carried him all throughout his life. Every time he had to learn something new, he remembered the experience of learning how to ride a bike. In fact, years later, his wife said that he learned things so quickly. Little Ricky just smiled. He knew that life taught him such a precious lesson at such a young age. Never give up. Persevere. You can learn anything. It may just take you time. Little Ricky loved ethnic foods. He was brought up since he was born to eat ethnic foods. He absolutely loved them. Yet, he never knew how to cook them. One day in high school, he enrolled in a cooking class. He wanted to learn how to cook. To his amazement, he learned that there was cooking recipes that you can follow to make each dish. A recipe usually has a list of ingredients along with the actual step-by-steps needed to make the dish. He was so excited. From that precious course, he learned hundreds of recipes throughout the years. He took the same concept to his own personal life. He learned how to use spices like kindness and patience in his life. He would sprinkle these on his daily actions. He knew that life was an incredible adventure. He added these precious spices to his everyday affairs. Ponder this over. What spices can you use to enhance your life? Kindness, tolerance, patience, love, and compassion. These are incredible spices that the world loves. Learn how to avoid the spice of anger, being a bully, and fighting. These never are good in the end. They are old habits from the past.
I was a member of the Boy Scouts for a few years. One day I was selling Boy Scout tickets for some event with a friend of mine. We were overlooking the bay. All of a sudden my friend yells, "Hey, there's a kitten in the water." I see the kitten and jump in the water wearing my Boy Scout uniform. I get the kitten and return the kitten to its owner. The owner gives me $5 for saving the kitten. The next day at school, the whole class is excited that I saved a kitten. One classmate said to the class that I should be ashamed that I accepted money for doing a good deed. A true Boy Scout would never do that. I felt so embarrassed, yet at the same time, I never knew about this so-called rule. It seems like my classroom friend wanted to taint what was done. Years later, I think my friend intentionally threw the kitten in the water without me noticing it. When I was in 5th grade, my parents took us to Europe. It was so incredible to see the countries that I learned in school. We saw the ancient Colosseum, the Forum, Vaticans, catacombs in Rome, in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. We went to France, Italy, and Switzerland. I have incredible memories of that trip. My love for different cultures really began to blossom. Each country was so different and unique. I loved the smells, the food, and the different customs. Europe was so different than life in the States. I love to see the vast differences. This impression carries with me today. I love the diversity of life. I love meeting new people, cultures, and different lifestyles. We are all so different, yet at the same time, our essence is the same. Ultimately, we are the same. We come from the same Creator. One incident that still remains to this day is the following. One day, while we were in high school, my dear friend Mark Blackburn and his uncle Carl took my brother on a boat ride. It takes probably half an hour to reach the ocean from where we took off in the harbor. We got off the harbor, we moved left to where we directly off Big Corona, where my brother and I served as a kid. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden, we feel this tremendous rush of energy with thousands of bubbles underneath the boat. It's kind of scary. Finally, this huge well emerges to the surface, probably 10 feet away. When I saw its eyes, it was such an incredible sight. Pure wisdom, kindness, compassion, and supreme intelligence. Today, this day, probably 46 years later, I can still vision this in my mind's eye. I always was in love with dolphins and whales, but to see one in the wild like this was truly a gift. I could sense and see the magnificence of such a beautiful creature of God. If he wanted to, he could completely destroy the boat, but that's not its nature. We need to learn from the dolphins and whales in our lives. They have so much we can learn from. During my senior year, I decided to put off college for a while and travel and surf around the world. I had another objective in mind also. I wanted to find a teacher who could reveal to me the experience of my true self. I had glimpses in my life of a life more brilliant than the noonday sun. I knew that God was light. I wanted conscious and direct experience. I wanted tools in my life where I could achieve 24 hours a day connection with the source of life itself. I prayed to God to be shown. I knew there were teachers who had the ability to reveal that experience and unlock that door. After the door was opened, it would be up to me to cultivate that experience. I worked at a grocery store after school on the weekends. I graduated from high school and went on a surfing trip to Mexico for a few weeks. Before I went to Europe, I spent 2 weeks at a yoga camp in Nevada City, Northern California. I had a wonderful time at that yoga camp. The owner of the camp was Kriyananda, a disciple of Yogananda. Yogananda was a famous Indian Swami who died in 1952. Kriyananda was one of his disciples. My fond memories were in the temple late at night. I would meditate late at night and would have these incredible visions inside. I was bathed in a blue light. I felt such a relationship with nature. I felt my life was incredible and that everything was being unfolded. Up to this point in time, I really didn't have the ability to tap into the meditation experience at will. It was a lot of hit and miss. At this yoga camp was the first time I was in an atmosphere where people were consciously trying to experience the source of light. I learned some valuable techniques. I felt such a peace inside of my being. My mind was slowly coming down to a halt. It's kind of funny, without meditation, a human being doesn't realize how powerful the mind is. I remember the first time I closed my eyes and realized a battle was in my hands. It would take patience and work, but it was sure worth it. I spent 2 weeks there and took a plane from Oakland, California to Europe. I went with my high school buddy Craig Perkins. Craig was a great person to be around. He had a great sense of humor. We hitchhiked from Germany to Denmark. We were looking for a friend named Carter Robinson. We arrived at the dock where Carter lived and found out his boat left a few days earlier. The person told us where they might be for a few days. We hitchhiked to the city and found Carter. It was quite the surprise. He stayed for about a week. They were planning to go to Norway for a while. They asked us if we wanted to go, but we declined. Carter had a guest named Brad Crow, who was an old friend of mine. We grew up together. After leaving Carter, Craig and I went back to Germany. Craig took a plane back to the 60s. Years later, I don't know exactly what happened. On the subconscious level, I wanted to be my own for the first time in my life. Craig will always be a friend. I haven't seen him for more than 23 years. I took a train to Biarritz, France, where my venture began. My first week in France, I camped out in the woods near La Barre, a famous surf spot. Each day I would go surfing. I met this American named Peter Lingo, and we became good friends. He was also a surfer. He invited me to stay with him in his tent. He had a huge tent that was staying in the campground overlooking La Barre. He also had a car, which helped get around. Both of us didn't smoke, drink, or take drugs. We got some incredible surf. I felt great. We went surfing all over the place. One of my fond memories was driving to this old bakery in the countryside. The views were incredible. The bakery was the same for hundreds of years. They had a stream running through which grounded the wheat. The smells that emanated from that place were truly out of this world. I remember eating these sugar cookies. The people in this part of France were friendly. While I was in France, one day I woke up and saw huge waves breaking. The waves were probably 15 feet high. The surf spot was at La Barre, a famous but now extinct surf spot. I took off on a huge wave, stood up, and the next moment I was free falling down the wave. Back then, there were no leashes. My board got carried to shore. La Barre had a jetty, and there were 15-foot waves breaking on the rocks. The rip was so strong, it was like a river. For the first time in my life, I said, Lord, if you exist, you had better do something real fast. I closed my eyes and saw an incredible light and a small Indian boy. The next moment, I was on shore. Everybody on shore said it was a miracle. The next day, I decided to go to India. As I look back at that experience, I felt the hand that embraced my life. I felt so protected. Here I was only 18 years old, but I knew my life was protected. I was about to start the adventure of a lifetime. This is definitely a near-death experience for me. In the early 70s, I read books about the death experience, and my experience closely resembled that experience. I saw a great light which filled my being with bliss that is boundless. I saw a figure which told me without words that everything would be all right. This experience I knew could be experienced consciously. It didn't have to be a hit or miss affair. I knew a human being could experience the source directly, no matter if he or she were dreaming, sleeping, dreaming, or in a awake state. Man had the ability to tap into the source of life. After my surfing accident, Peter and I started our trip to India. I was very excited. I knew that something wonderful was going to happen in India. All my dreams would come true. We drove from Biarritz to Venice, where we stayed 2 days with an Italian friend from high school. We drove through Yugoslavia. At that time, it was a communist country. The people at that time were very suspicious of outsiders. They weren't very friendly. The countryside was amazing. We were high up in the mountains and could see the Mediterranean Sea. Peter would drive and had this harmonica he would play. He was actually a good player. We drove to Athens in Greece. We spent a week there. I loved going to the Parthenon. Here I was in the cradle of such an incredible civilization. I was in awe. We sold our car and took an airplane to Turkey. When we landed in Istanbul, I knew this is where East meets West. The city was so different. The Muslim mosques were so beautiful. The policemen had submachine guns. I never saw that before. I remember staying at this house where a lady came in and said we had better leave because the police was going to raid the place. She said people used drugs and the police were going to bust the place. I felt someone taking care of me. I didn't want to end up in a Turkish jail, especially because I don't use drugs. That would be hard to prove in Turkey. We spent a week in Istanbul and then went to Ankara. In Ankara we had to stay a week because the border was closed. The Shah of Iran was having the 1,000-year anniversary party for Persia. He didn't want young Westerners or trouble to come to his land for this party. I heard that the Shah even built props to hide the poverty. I had a friend who went to the party and said it was quite the affair. They had air-conditioned tents. The Shah spent thousands of dollars. While in Ankara, we saw the Queen of England in a parade. There were thousands of soldiers carrying submachine guns. After a week, the border was open and we took trains and buses to Iran. It's quite a scene traveling. Both Peter and I carried our surfboards and our packs. The trains were quite dirty and packed. We slept on the floor of the train. The buses were like the trains, but they had livestock on board. I was getting quite a lesson on life. We arrived at the capital of Tehran. Tehran was quite a beautiful city. We found out that a week before, a young American tourist died the week before. Supposedly she entered a Muslim mosque and was stoned to death. The reason was that only Muslims could go inside the temple. I met a man from the secret police. He came up to me and said that he killed about 30 Americans this year. In Iran, if they find drugs in you, they would shoot you on the spot. What a way to control the drug problem. We then took buses to the border of Afghanistan. This is where the scenery drastically changed. I felt I was transferred back 2,000 years ago. The Afghan people are warriors. Their culture is the same for thousands of years. We were in a high mountain desert. Everyone carried guns or rifles. This is way before the Soviet invasion. I felt I was in a Wild West town. There was no law or order. The people were quite nice, but I knew you didn't want to cross them up. The people in Afghanistan smoked a lot of hash. They used this drug like alcohol. The whole nation used it. The food was quite good. We took a bus from the border and made it to Kabul. Along the way, we bumped into this lion named Charlie Krishna. Charlie was a great guy and we traveled together. Kabul at this time was a hangout for the European hippies. The Europeans were heavily involved in drugs. They used a lot of opium. It's quite sad to see people my age totally addicted to opium. There's nothing I could do. Many of them simply wasted away. The drug was very cheap and could be bought anywhere. I knew a lot of my friends in the States would have loved to be in that environment. It was an eye-opening experience. For the first time, I saw so many kids totally wasted and hanging on to life with a thread. They were thousands of miles from home. During this time, I would meditate every day. I knew something incredible was going to happen to me in India. I just had the intuition that my dreams would come true. I wish I would meet someone who would show me the way to open the door. I felt totally protected. It's a beautiful feeling to know that someone is watching over you. I was thousands of miles away from home, and yet I felt great inside. I felt protected. My main goal was to get to India. Ever since I left France, that feeling kept on getting stronger. I felt such a wave and anticipation that my dreams will come true. I had only a short time and would be shown to me. I left Kabul and took the Khyber Pass from Afghanistan into Pakistan. The Khyber Pass was used by Genghis Khan. It's one of the oldest trade routes in the world. Throughout history, it has been an important trade route between Central Asia and India. What a radical road. It was all dirt, which most of Afghanistan was. There was no guardrails, and we had these crazy drivers driving as fast as they could down the pass. The buses were quite different. Each bus would have a different altar depending on which religion they belonged to. There would be flowers, incense, pictures, and memorabilia. We would be driving down this huge mountain on a skinny road. This was the one and only route from Afghanistan to Pakistan. Well, we finally made it to Pakistan. Lahore was a busy city. We only stayed for a few days. When I was in Pakistan, I saw signs saying "Crush India." When I arrived in India, I saw sayings "Crush Pakistan." I arrived at the border of India at the beginning of the Indian-Pakistan War. The following day, the border was closed for 5 years. The following day, I packed up my bags and took a train to Brahmnagar. Maraji's ashram is near Hardwar. It's a small town in the foothills of the Himalayas. The next 2 weeks I listened to discourses about this knowledge. Something inside of me knew that it was to receive the experience of a lifetime. I knew the door to my soul was to be opened. Words are hard to express the feeling that was going inside of my being. I knew that in a short time I'd be shown and would reveal the secret of life itself. I knew this experience was real. I told a lot of people who had the experience. I could tell and sense that something wonderful was going on. I liked the idea that the proof is in the pudding. I didn't want to join a cult or religious group. I just wanted a direct and continuous experience of the power that's keeping me alive. I knew through practice this could be achieved. During this time, the war between India and Pakistan was going on. Each night there were air raid sirens going on, and off in the distance we could hear bombs going off. There was a general blackout at night. Pakistani bombers were only miles away. Air raid sirens were heard in the distance. At the ashram, the whole place was so serene, while this part of the world, people were dying. Trains of Pakistanis were being massacred going from India to Pakistan, and trainloads of Indians were being massacred going from Pakistan into India. Such a dichotomy. I'll never forget my initiation. There were probably about 20 of us in a small room. Maraji had initiators who revealed his knowledge. We were in the room while Maraji was playing on top of the roof directly overhead of us. This experience that I had that day still sends shivers of joy, just merely the thought. The first technique the initiator revealed was the light technique. I always knew that the human being had the ability to see the light inside. This is an actual experience. When the initiator touched my forehead, I felt this incredible surge of energy. I knew at that point that something incredible was going to happen. My whole body and soul sensed it. My consciousness completely left this physical existence. A golden circle of light appeared. Inside of this circle, a brilliant blue star appeared. This golden circle of light and this blue star was so beautiful. It's probably the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Waves of love, joy, and peace were surging inside my consciousness. All of a sudden, the star transferred into a ray, a tunnel of blue light which went on for infinity. I merged with the blue ray. It's very hard to describe this experience. I was at home. The doors were open. I was given the keys, and it was up to me to cultivate that experience. I have definite proof that we are more than these bodies. All of a sudden, the mystery of life was revealed. I knew the secrets behind our religion. There was a genuine experience that could be shown and experienced. Years later, I realized that this experience was initiation into Lord Michael Blue Ray. It was the Jacob's ladder. This experience was the ladder to God. To this day, I'll never forget this experience. It gave me practical proof that God exists. I knew it, but this was a practical experience. It was more real than any outside human experience. I knew my life was on track. I waited years to go home. I was shown such a glorious place. When I returned to this body and regained physical consciousness, my whole body was shaking like a dot. My body had a hard time. Can you imagine being hooked up to the power plant of the whole universe? I knew no damage was done. Over time, I knew that the body was built and designed to handle these kinds of currents. Day by day, through meditation, man can slowly harmonize with these frequencies and begin to vibrate at this frequency. There were 3 other techniques that were revealed. One was the music technique. I was shown how to listen to the innermost frequencies of life. Since God is energy, man has the capability to be in tune and listen to subtle yet energy frequencies. Different religions have different concepts about this experience. By listening to this music over time, man is filled with such a joy and peace in his life. The mind slowly begins to slow down. In this state, man gets in contact with an energy frequency that is infinite. This energy is pure love and bliss. The whole universe is comprised of this energy. It was, is, and will always be. This is the Word of God. Every major religion talks about the Word in some form or another. This is a very simple technique where man can be in direct communication with the subtle energy. When a person first receives this initiation, the Word is very subtle. The majority of people really don't understand the power of this Word. I know a lot of people who took this experience and never really tried it out. Over time, I can consciously put myself in direct communication with this Word. My whole being is instantly filled with such a wave of love and bliss. I'm out there 24 hours a day, but I know it's possible. I have had experiences that I was completely taken out of this physical world and taken into a place where there's no time and space. The only thing existed was this incredible energy of love. I know I was at home with my Father. This energy exists throughout all creation. It exists in the manifest and unmanifest. It exists throughout time and space and beyond. All of creation came from this Word. In the Bible in St. John, the verse goes like this: "In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God." Human beings have the capability to tune into this experience. The last experience was one of the living waters or nectar experience. When man is in this experience, powerful hormones and enzymes are secreted through the endocrine system. Through the ages, man has learned that he has a capability to actually experience this nectar or living water. Just one drop of this is an incredible, powerful experience. One drop has the capability to take man's consciousness into a definite, altered state. This fluid is very cleansing to the body. When Christ was in the desert for 40 days and nights, he lived off this manna. This experience is energy in its subtle form. It is energy, yet it transmutes itself into matter. This experience is very powerful to the endocrine system. I've had numerous experiences of this nectar. It's probably the most intoxicating drug known in the universe. Unlike a drug which has side effects, this experience is completely beneficial to the body and soul. These experiences reveal over time who we truly are. We are more than our mind or body. We are in fact the source of life. Each one of us are part of this universal consciousness. We just don't remember it. It's amazing when we were born, we came from the source. Our whole body was this consciousness. Over time, we forgot. Years later, we have completely forgotten of our true existence. After the initiation, I thank my Creator for revealing Himself to me. My dreams come true. I had the tools. Everything made sense to me. I could read the scriptures and understand the hidden meaning. The scriptures were at the same wavelength. I had a lot of respect for the major religions. My first day in India was incredible. I remember crossing the border. At this time, there was a 2-mile walk to reach the border, check for India. There were parrots and wild birds everywhere. I felt such a strong spiritual experience. I was home. It's hard to put into words what I was feeling. I knew something incredible was to happen to me in India. I was looking for a teacher who would give me a practical experience of who I was. I remember being checked by an Indian custom lady who was famous for busting people for bringing in drugs into India. Since I didn't use drugs, I wasn't worried. I remember such an aura of peace that came over me. The sun was just setting, and the whole forest was alive. Thousands of parrots were in the forest. The smell was like an incredible perfume in the air. I crossed the border and took an overnight train to New Delhi. When I got to New Delhi, I was very tired and exhausted. I heard rumors that the Sikhs allowed people to stay at their temple. I went to this huge Sikh temple. I asked, "Can I stay here overnight?" The man said no, but there's a huge festival going on down the block. The festival is for Maharaji, a 13-year-old boy who just came back from a tour of the West. I remember 4 months earlier reading about him in Time magazine and from my sister. I was intrigued how a 13-year-old boy could have such a huge following. I arrived at the festival site and was escorted to the stage where 1 million people were sitting. It was amazing, a sea of people. The next thing I knew, a young Indian boy walked on the stage wearing a Krishna outfit. He was wearing a gold crown with jewels and a gold outfit. I was laughing and crying at the same time. Something inside of me knew I was home, that the experience I was looking for could be shown by this Indian boy. Being 18 years old, I was very practical that I wanted a direct experience of God inside of me. What this young Indian boy said made sense. He said, "Seeing is believing." If I told you an ant was 10 feet tall, would you believe me? But if I showed you, seeing is believing. He said, "Don't believe in my words. Take my experience. See for yourself. If it suits your practice, if not, go on your way." At this time of my life, this made sense. I have never heard someone saying, "I can reveal who you really are." All my teachers in the past said believe, and maybe someday you will have that experience. Ronnie said, take that experience, practice it, and let the seed bloom into a fruit tree. The following day, I was sitting by the Ganges meditating when I completely lost consciousness of this planet. I saw a light more brilliant than the noonday sun. My consciousness was flowing into a river of nectar. I felt the whole Ganges River was flowing through me. Raji had a beautiful poem by Rumi, a great Sufi teacher, that sums it up. It goes like this. There is a palace in the sky without any foundation. A blind man sees a light more brilliant than a million suns. A deaf man listens to the unstruck music. A lame man climbs up a well and drinks the nectar and becomes totally intoxicated. The quencher is only a wise man understands what I'm talking about. From then on, my life was to change drastically. After my initiation and this experience, my life was never the same. I was shown something so incredible that my focus was on this experience. My whole life from then on was based upon practically cultivating this experience. Day by day, I was going deeper and deeper into my existence. My days in India were spent in meditation and spending time with Miraji. Meditation was such an incredible experience. I call it going to the movies. Day by day, I was going deeper and deeper into realms I'd never been before. Prabhunagar was such a beautiful place. I was thousands of miles away from home, and then again, I was truly at home. I was content and full of such an incredible bliss. My mind was learning to focus on something inside of me that never changes, that was and will always be. I was learning how to be connected to that experience 24 hours a day. I practiced meditation like how I surf with joy and the thrill of riding the waves of life. To this day, I'm still blown away that this experience is lying dormant inside of humanity, just waiting to be discovered. We are searching for the jewel, and the jewel is hidden inside of each one of us. Over time, it's not all bliss and roses with this experience. I had to face my mind. The mind is such a powerful thing. It can be your friend or enemy. I learned over time to become its friend. In the beginning, at times, I thought I would go crazy. The mind was constantly chattering. I would sit for hours, and at times I wanted to get up and just forget the whole thing. But then I would break through. Then that experience would rush in and completely saturate your being. You are bliss. I felt that I had to break down the door. Over time, I walked through the door, and my mind hasn't bothered me in this way since. I'm not saying my mind doesn't bother me. At times it does. But when I close my eyes or put my connection on this Word of God, my whole being is filled with bliss. In the beginning, it took tremendous effort to have this kind of experience. In the beginning, you meditate on the experience. Years later, that experience meditates on you. I remember that a few days before Christmas, the whole ashram took a train ride from Hardwar to Patna, a city in Bihar, India. Bihar is one of the poorest states in India. The scenery was beautiful. We were traveling on this old, funky Indian train. We could see swamps that were full of lotus flowers. Wildlife was everywhere. Raj was having a 3-day program. I remember at the festival there was probably 1 million people there. At one point in the festival, the Ari Samaj attacked the festival. I'm not sure how many people died. The group caused a lot of trouble in India. It was kind of scary to sit on stage watching fighting only a half mile away. India was quite a different place. The people were quite friendly. They liked Westerners. The Indian people in general had a strong conviction for God. Before leaving to Bihar, my friend Peter left to go back to America. I loaned him the money, which I got back in South Africa. The Westerners left in January. There were only a few of us left. I spent my remaining time in Delhi. I remember I would meditate and go into town. The Indian food was great. I bumped into the son of James Arness. His father was a famous actor in Hollywood. He played in Gunsmoke on TV. He had a son, Ralph, at the time, who was a world champion surfer. It was quite funny meeting him. I was buying a kilo of cashews for $1. I just started talking to him. During this time, Raji was planning to go to South Africa. He needed a few Westerners to go and help set up the necessary arrangement. Somehow, Raji's mother asked me to go. So in early February, we embarked to Bombay.
The journey with the girls. I look back now on this incredible journey I was going to embark on. Let me introduce you to Kali Rodriguez, Kathleen Cook, aka Cookie, and Tess Davis. These were my traveling partners on this journey. We were going to hitchhike from Kenya to South Africa. I asked Miraji if we're going to make it there alive. He said yes, you're going to have a hell of a lot of adventures along the way. To this day, I wonder why we never just didn't take a plane to South Africa. But that wouldn't be a journey, would it? I was just 19 years old, a mere kid, yet I learned so much on this journey.
We took a train one day in Delhi to Bombay. Room, where Raji was in Bombay for a week. Stood up. Upon reaching the train station, I realized when I lost the direction to the ashram. His whole body knew that everything would be alright. It looked like he put his hand. I was traveling with three rescue girls. He was yelling, "Please, Raji, stop. Let's go hop in a taxi." After about 20 seconds, we got in a taxi. The driver said, "Felt on a guy," and the chauffeur. I said we would trek on was back to normal. Bombay is a huge Being an 18-year-old kid, none of us had ever been there. I said, "I'm Raji." He couldn't believe it. "You want to zap?" But he did, as he was told. Raji said, "Sure." I closed my eyes for a received direction somewhere to raise his hand. Left, right, electricity back into him. After about 45 minutes of driving, we all the driver to stop. This is my first time. We got out of the car. Close time and knocked on the door. And walked right into the Westerners there. I never told Raji how we got there. At the same time, just a matter of having great respect for him. Before we left to Kenya, Raji asked us if we wanted any holy water. Holy water is a custom in India where the master places his foot in water. I only had a canteen, and Raji placed his foot inside of the canteen. We all laughed. The next day we headed out for Kenya. On board the plane was Kali, Kathleen, and Tess. These were the three girls I traveled with from New Delhi. On board the plane we drank the water from the canteen. All of us got rip-roaring drunk. I've been drunk prior to that once or twice, but this is a drunk of joy. We all somehow managed to saunter off the plane. We spent a few days in Nairobi. Tess's parents lived on the outskirts of town. Kenya was an incredible country. Parts of it looked like England. We relaxed for a few days. I remember one moment at Tess's house. I was meditating in the backyard when I opened my eyes and saw Miraji standing there. He was laughing and laughing. I remember in Bombay asking him if we were to make it to South Africa. We were going to hitchhike from Kenya to South Africa. He said we would, but we were going to have a hell of a lot of adventures along the way.